Hello, I'm Greg. Welcome to Introduction to Dungeons & Dragons 1st and 2nd edition. Today we're going to discuss the overlooked character class, the Fighter. Not the subclasses, not the Ranger, Paladin, Cavalier, or Barbarian. We're going to discuss the Fighter, the pros and cons. The Fighter is often the most overlooked class because people want to play wizards, clerics, priests, other things. And a fighter is just a fighter. But a fighter is more than that, and I'll explain why. A fighter can use any weapons and wear any armor. As you see here, there's a variety of weapons that are available. Fighters can use any weapons as long as they're proficient in them without penalty. If they pick up a weapon that they're not proficient in, they usually just have a -2 on their to hit roll. They can wear all types of armor, from plate mail to leather, scale mail, ring mail, without penalty. The other thing that a good fighter class has is races. Almost all races are available. You have little halflings, gnomes, dwarves, elves. Here is a wild elf and a drow. And in my campaign, I use half orcs and half ogres. The half ogres were available from Dragon Magazine back in the day. But as you can see, fighters use all weapons and armor. So back in 1st edition, the fighter had the most hit points. It used the 10-sided dice. The main things you wanted for the fighter was strength, constitution, and dexterity. Constitution gives you extra hit points. Strength gives you extra points to hit and damage. Dexterity gives you an extra armor class and a chance to hit if you're using a ranged weapon. If you're using a bow of most sorts, you would get a better dexterity than a constitution. That's how I would do it. But in the 1st edition, the fighter was just a fighter. Yes, it had a better chance to hit. Let's say a cleric needed a 13, the fighter probably needed an 8. But that's where it basically stopped at. Besides all the weapons and armor, better chance to hit. People started using the multi-class charts, being a half-elf, an elf, gnome, whatever. But they decided to be a fighter thief or a fighter magic user, fighter cleric, just to get the better to hit charts, but use the abilities of the other classes. Along came 2nd edition. 2nd edition improved the fighter. They gave it weapon specialization. What is weapon specialization, you ask? Well, you can choose a weapon. Let's say we choose a longsword, but it can be a mace, a morning star, as long as it's a melee weapon of some sort. You'll get a +1 to hit, +2 damage because you specialize in that weapon. As long as there are proficiency slots available, weapon proficiency slots. Fighters start off with 4 weapon choices, 4 slots. If you decide to double specialize in that weapon, you'll be using 2 slots right off the start, and then you'll get a +3 to hit, +3 damage. So let's say your strength is 1800. Oh, that's pretty good. You have a +3 to hit, +6 damage. But because you're double specialized in the longsword, now it's going to be +6 to hit and +9 damage. Now just imagine if you get a magical sword, +1, +2, whatever, you add to that. So that's what makes the fighter special. But I want to do a fighter mage with weapon specialization, you say. Nope, no you don't. That's where the penalty lies. If you decide to be multi-class, you cannot have weapon specialization. That only belongs to the fighter. Yes, some are going to argue in Unearthed Arcana, in 2nd edition, they offered weapon specialization to the Ranger, which you can do that. But the Ranger already has special abilities that the fighter does not. The Ranger can fight with 2 weapons at the same time. say a short sword and a dagger without penalty, where every other class is -2, -4. So why give the ranger weapon specialization when it has all these other goodies for that class? So I decided, no, we'll keep this special for the single fighter class only to make it more appealing. Again, weapon specialization is the big thing for the fighter. Most classes, all humans, unlimited levels. Some races cap out at 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th, or whatever. The fighter is an important member of the group. If you have 5 players, you should at least have 2 fighters in there. Fighters are the first ones into the battle. They want to get the job done. You need to have everything in unity, so to speak. You don't want the thief creeping through shadows while the combat's going on, going, okay, I'm going to sneak up on this guy, or the magic user is going, oh, hand-to-hand combat, that's beneath me. Oh, no, 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 no. Or that cleric, I'll just stay back here and heal everybody as they're. That's not how clerics are supposed to be played anyway. But what I'm saying is, you don't want the fighter to go up alone and while everybody else hangs back. Fight as a party, fight as a group. So let's say the group goes up against 10 goblins. Don't strategize. Don't go, I'm going to go to the left, climb up a rock and jump down on them, or I'm going to go around this tree. No, 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 no. You're a fighter. Go straight on, head on. Start hacking and slashing. Start rolling that dice. It's a numbers game when it comes to that. You're not fighting army against army in a big battlefield. Don't strategize. Just go in and roll, because it all comes down to the 20-sided dice and your bonuses to hit. Do you hit or you miss? The more rolls you make to hit, most likely you're going to be successful. The other thing you don't want to happen as a fighter is, let's say we use the same group, thief, magic user, cleric, and a fighter. You come against a troll. You don't sit there and let the fighter fight the troll by itself while everybody sits back and go, let's say if you have a ranger with them, oh, I'm going to use my bow, boing, boing. I don't want to get hurt by a troll, oh, boing, boing. Well, first of all, that's not what a ranger does. A ranger rushes into combat because, hey, he's there to save his people. But you don't have people using ranged weapons while the fighter is up front getting the blunt of the troll. You know, rake, 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 bite, bite, bite. Next thing you know, the fighter's dead and the magic user's going, oh no, what am I going to do now? As the troll bites his head off. Fight as a group. Yes, the fighters are going to be doing the heavy work, but you need to support them. That's the fun thing about fighters. I love role-playing them because they can choose to go into combat, know when to stop. You know, they got an array of weapons. Their weapon breaks in mid-combat. They can pick something else up that's similar without penalty, or it's just a -2 penalty. The other thing about fighters is when you role-play them as a character. You know, you can have, depending on their alignment, which they can use all alignments, you can have a neutral good fighter. Maybe he goes in and saves the day, but doesn't want any of the credit. Lets other people have the credit. Or maybe, you know, he has the appeal of Clark Kent. You know, he's the do-gooder of the day and doesn't want glory, but he'll accept it where it's needed. Or you just have some of the fighters that are just doing the right thing in a nasty kind of way. As long as the job is done and their sword is bloody at the end of the day, they're happy. They are happy. Create a character. Create a persona for that fighter. They all don't have to talk like this, or take me to your leader. You know, create somebody that you want and have fun with it. But the fighter is the backbone of the group. Keep weapon specialization with the fighter. Again, it's your game. If you decide to have it with the ranger, so be it. But I found more players enjoying the fighter having its ability instead of the multi-class. Other than that, really, just enjoy the game, enjoy the fighter, and build up on that. I'll talk to you later.